Today we're talking about esoteric morality, how to transcend the moral and psychological planes of human existence. And what I mean by that is understanding your moral compass and having the ability to identify it within the facets of your mind. The facets of your mind is being your imagination, thoughts, feelings, images, visions, emotions, etc. Whenever you're able to identify that internally, then you will have the ability to see the holisticness within the universe. Okay, because whenever you have morality and you can identify internally, where does morality come from? Externally. So whenever you can identify internally the same nature that you're doing externally, you just hack some shit. So you can see it within both realms and you can see the actual distinctions of reality. Now, how does this work? You have to be virtuous. You have to intuitively know your moral compass. You have to trust in your moral compass. So to get here, guess what we have to do? Shadow work, shadow work, shadow work. Very important because whenever you have shadow work, you have knowledge of your senses. And if you claim that you do shadow work and you don't know your senses, you're not doing shadow work hard or deep enough. Because whenever you know your senses, you know the virtue to apply to get the knowledge of yourself, like real knowledge of yourself. Like you don't gotta read a book. Like you don't gotta do none of that. Nothing. You already got the experience within you. So whenever you know what to apply within you that you don't like, you get the principle, you get the knowledge. What makes that? What causes that? And whenever you understand that and you have your virtue, your morality, you can see your old version of yourself, how you would behave, how you did behave. So it's like an echo internally. It's like that repeated voice internally. The reason why your mind says things over and over again, you're here, you're at this step. You're observing your morality. You're introspecting. We all do this. Every time we experience something, every action. Well, it just depends on how you build your mind over time. But we all do this though. We all look at aspects of ourselves and we try to interpret what that is. Okay, this is the step that you're in right now. Whenever you don't have a morality or a good morality, you can't identify it internally because you don't do it enough. You're not serious about it. So you're not going to see the nature of it internally because you don't practice it externally. So morality becomes esoteric whenever you can identify your moral compass internally. Whenever you identify internally, this gives you the ability to actually have self-knowledge. Okay? Back to shadow work. Shadow work, it allows us to detach from our senses, to see the interaction, the play that our senses are making to stimulus itself. So whenever you detach from those aspects, you can see just about having basic human comprehension and practical wisdom, why things happen the way it happened. And that's going to make you feel better about yourself because you know you already went through the worst. So the only thing you know now is to do better. So that makes you excited, okay? Now, virtue is not about that, like at all. That's just one aspect of the mind. That's just one stop of the journey. That's just where we go eat at, and then after we get done eating, we on to the next. And this next part is this right here, is balancing out our emotions now, balancing out our feelings, not getting too lost within being happy because we know that the mind, wherever we are expressing with our bodies, whatever decisions that we're making, the reason for those decisions, those are natures themselves. So if we're in a emotion or feeling, those things are liable to get tainted. Meaning the hard work, the virtue that you have been doing, if you give it to a peasant, your mind is fucked. What that means is you didn't realize that you got a dirty aspect of yourself within a good aspect of yourself. So, in order for us to transcend the psychological planes, you gotta do shadow work. You gotta understand your senses and how your senses is relating to this body and the things outside of the body. To sit within your internal. Then you can know the virtue. So now you know just how to behave, how to act. And that itself balances out your emotions, your feelings. And what you're going to experience is how you did. It's like the chronology of how you introspected within that aspect. So, and the only reason why a timeline exists is because you didn't know. You didn't know what you were doing within that aspect. So your mind, since you didn't know, your mind is gonna leave those bodies there so that you can get back up in them to see that event and that perspective. So this is how we detach from perception and perspective. Go watch my other videos about that. If you're having trouble with perception and breaking down information and shit like that. But when we transcend that, we're now equalizing a whole spirit. And to transcend the psychological planes, you gotta have the virtue to start to extract the principles, real self-knowledge, real wisdom, so that you can form a good morality. It don't gotta be super extreme, but hey, what you see internally, wherever you make of the highest, that's just your spirit. So if you try to shortcut it, you're just shortcutting yourself. So if you do see something that's at an ultimate highest good and you don't do it, that's where shame is going to come from, because you know that's the highest good. That's what's the best thing to do. And if you don't do it, you will be judged. That's what that means. This guilt. You just feel guilt. Okay? That's where those aspects of those energies come from. Now, in order to transcend the moral planes of human existence, you got to understand your morality. Back to what I was saying about you identifying your moral compass internally only because you're behaving externally with loyalty to your morality. Okay, but how do we get morality? Like what I said, shadow work, detaching from the senses, knowing how to behave. Now, since we know how to behave, now we're in this seat now. Now we're finna transcend the moral planes. But since you're in because you gotta understand, behavior and psychology go hand in hand. So this is what triggers and summons old aspects of yourself that you did transcend within shadow work. It's feelings. It's because those feelings remind you, because you gotta understand, memory, emotions the first body it comes through is memory. So you got to be able to identify what is memory, what is wisdom. Those having that in mind will help you a lot. Identify what is actually memory and what is actual wisdom. What did I actually go through? What did I actually extract from that? And what is that perspective? And what is actually just memory? Like, what is just reminding me of shit? That is because of feelings, of states of yourself that ain't got shit to do with nothing but how you behave in there. So it summons up that body. It reminds you of that body again, because it didn't go nowhere. The only way you do transcend yourself is with morality. Now, externally, right? You gotta really be about that. Just basically, just morality. What's right and what's wrong. That's simple. And you get it from internally, from shadow work. So that being said, it's nothing hard. You don't have to read a book. None of that. Just accept yourself. That's the only thing that you gotta do. Is accept yourself.